Hi guys, Eric with Lamboy, and today we're going to walk you through installing the GT Momentum intake from AFE Power. We also did the turbo inlet tubes while we were doing this intake, so we're going to walk you through both. We noticed a slight increase in intake noise and induction noise after install, and you're going to also see a slight bump in power and torque. Let's get to the install. So what you see before you is actually two kits. We have the turbo inlet pipes right here with a hardware bag, which is basically just some hose clamps, and then we have the cold air intake. Now the one thing that I would like to make note is that this unit right here is for the factory turbo inlets, and if you're using the AFE turbo inlets, you will no longer have to use these. So this adapts these MAF tubes to the OEM turbo inlet. If you're going to the aftermarket larger turbo inlet, we don't need to use this part. We have the filters, we have some gaskets, we have the airbox tubes.
So for today's install, we're gonna need some 8mm and 10mm sockets for hose clamps and mounting brackets, T20 Torx bit for the AFE mass airflow sensor mounting screws, a Phillips screwdriver for the factory mass airflow sensor screws, flathead screwdriver for electrical connector brackets, a pry tool for the intake clips for the charcoal bag, and some pliers for hose clamps.
On the right side of the engine, we're going to remove this inlet pipe, and you do so by removing this 8mm bolt right here. We have this PCV hose, which is a hose clamp, for removing that, and then we did a 10mm on the hose clamp to the turbo inlet. And then this can come out. Note that it does have an evap line that goes right there. And then we're going to remove the wiring harness as well, which will allow us to access the new inlet and place it in place. So that'll give us enough room. And then we're going to remove this bracket completely from the engine. That looks like it is one 8mm? I think it's just 1/8mm. And then get this evap line out of the way again.
Now that we have that factory bracket off of the stock intake, we're going to use that same bolt hole that the bracket was mounted to. That one right there. We're going to reuse the factory 8mm bolt to mount through that hole. We decided to put the hose clamp in this direction rather than the other way, so it's easier to get an extension in an 8mm socket on this. So when you're putting in the driver's side inlet pipe, we're going to make sure that the pipe goes all the way down to this tab. That's how we know when it's flush.
First part of it is we're going to remove this air box. So we're going to unclip all of these. We're going to get the air filter out. We're going to undo this 10mm hose clamp. We're going to undo this and the electrical connector for the MAF, and then this will come off, and then we'll kind of go into more detail on what we're going to do with the lower air box and then the rest of this intake tube. To remove this lower air box, we're literally just going to pull straight up. It's going to come off the rubber feet. That's a good word for it. Right there, right there. There should be another one right there. We're going to reuse those on the AFE intake. We're also going to remove this really quickly too with two 10mm bolts since we're working in this area. today we're doing 2 installs. We're doing the turbo inlet, which is down here, as well as the cold air intake. So we're going to be actually removing all of that. If you were just doing the cold air intake, you would remove this rubber hose only with this 10 and then do the rest of the intake install. But because we're doing both installs today, we're actually going to remove this part as well, which just means that we can go all the way down there to the turbo, remove that 10mm hose clamp, and then we're also going to remove this PCV hose that I'm going to do real quick with my hand. Probably one of the hardest parts of the install is actually getting to this bracket right here. The other side was even a little bit more time intensive, but that looks like a 10. On the other side it's an 8, which is interesting. But we'll remove that, and that's what connects this lower tube to the engine as well.
So the next few steps for us to do are to transfer the feet, these grommet, from the factory box to the AFE, and also transfer this charcoal bag. We're going to take these grommets out using a pry tool. All right, next step is to put the cone filter in. We're going to put the gasket on and also switch over the mass airflow sensor. These tabs all the way around, that's what keeps this in the box. Make sure it's flush, and we're good. And this side, just align it and stick it on. Factory mass airflow sensor has a Phillips. Does this not fit the AFE? Oh, okay, I see it now. It's machine screws. Yeah. Cool. It only goes in one way. And the AFE has these torques. What size is this? T20.
With the assembled airbox, we're going to install it into the vehicle. We have these rubber feet, and those are going to go onto these standoffs on the chassis. The hard part is aligning them all. So just kind of be careful. I go basically straight down, and you can kind of feel them go into the location that they need to go into. And then once you feel like it's all good, you just push it down. With the MAF tube, we're going to install this. I like to place my hose clamps in the same fashion and easy to tighten. So I'm gonna pre-assemble those onto the hose so that they both get tightened on the same way. Then we're gonna throw it on. Eight millimeter on those. I'm gonna tighten it on. Now I do believe that if you were doing the stock intake, you would then use those short tubes right here with the extra hose clamp, and you go to the factory tube, which kind of terminates right here. So again, we don't have to do that because we're going with the AFE inlet ducts or inlet tubes. So we didn't have to do that. We're gonna finish the install by plugging in the MAF and starting up the car.